November 12th, 1740. The North Atlantic, off the treacherous Lofoten Islands, Norway. A freezing gale screams like a banshee. Salt spray stings like shrapnel. Captain Thorsen, a man who has braved these waters for 30 winters, grips the rain-slicked wheel of his ship, the Northern Star. His knuckles are white. His heart hammers against his ribs, not just from the storm, but from what he sees emerging from the fog. There, through the veil of sleet and sea mist, a ship, but not a ship of this world. Its sails hang limp, tattered like burial shrouds. Its hull, impossibly dark, seems to drink the weak gray light. No lanterns glow, no crew moves. It glides silently through the heaviest waves as if the ocean itself parts for it. A vessel of the dead, a phantom, a ghost ship. This is the legend, the Lofoten Phantom of 1740. A story whispered in sailors' taverns for centuries. A documented sighting? Or is it? What really happened on that frozen November night? Was it a spectral visitation? Or something far stranger, woven from the fabric of the sea itself? Today, we dive into the icy depths of this 284-year-old mystery. We'll reconstruct the chilling account, scour forgotten ship logs, analyze the brutal weather, and confront the magnetic secrets of the deep. Was the ghost ship real? Or is the greatest secret the myth itself? Let's set the scene. November 1740. Europe is in the grip of the Little Ice Age. Winters are brutal, summers short. The North Atlantic is a killing ground for sailors. Captain Thorsen's Northern Star, a sturdy Norwegian jekt, a coastal cargo vessel, is battling its way home to Bergen from the Arctic fishing grounds, laden with salted cod. The crew, 17 hardened men, seasoned by the sea, but not by what they're about to witness. According to the sole surviving account, Captain Thorsen's log, later transcribed in the Bergen Maritime Museum archives, the storm reached its peak around midnight. Visibility dropped to near zero. Then, as the gale momentarily lessened, a dense, unnatural fog rolled in, thicker and colder than any sea mist they'd known. The wind fell as if God held his breath. The silence fell, heavy and wrong. Then, from the heart of the gray wall before us, it emerged. A ship, black as pitch, its sails hanging in tatters, yet it made no sound against the waves. Its hull, it seemed to cut the water without parting it, like a shadow upon the sea. No lantern, no cry of man or beast, only a deep, cold dread that froze the marrow in our bones. I called to the lookout, Jens, but he stood rigid, pointing, his face the color of curdled milk. We were dead men, he whispered, dead men sailing with the dead. Thorsen claims the phantom ship held course directly towards them for several terrifying minutes, close enough to see the unnatural smoothness of its hull, the complete absence of rigging movement, the utter stillness. Then, as suddenly as it appeared, it vanished into the fog, leaving only the howling storm and the palpable terror of the crew. The Northern Star limped into Bergen days later, its crew shaken to their core, speaking only in hushed tones of the drogger ship. But here's our first puzzle. Only Thorsen's log mentions this event. No other vessel in the area reported it. No corroborating logs from Bergen Harbor, masters noting the crew's extreme distress upon arrival. Just this single, dramatic account. Was it real? Or was the stress of the storm, the isolation, the sheer terror of the North Atlantic playing tricks on desperate minds? To understand the mystery, we need to look beyond the log. Where are the other pieces of the puzzle? we turn to the archives. The Bergen Maritime Museum holds Captain Thorsen's log, a genuine artifact from the period. The handwriting, the paper, the ink, consistent with 1740. The description of the Northern Star and its typical route checks out. Thorsen was a real documented captain, but here's the critical gap: no independent verification. We scoured the logs of other vessels known to be in the Norwegian Sea that November. Dutch whalers, British traders, even other Norwegian jekter. Nothing. Not a single mention of a phantom ship or even an unusual fog bank matching Thorsen's description in that specific location and time. We examined Bergen's port records for November-December 1740. While the Northern Star is listed as arriving damaged, consistent with the storm, there's no notation of the crew being unusually traumatized, no reports of strange sightings filed with authorities, no medical records indicating mass hysteria or illness. Just a routine, albeit storm-damaged, arrival. This isn't unusual for ghost stories, but for a documented sighting by a professional captain, recorded in an official log, the absence of any corroborating evidence is significant. It makes you wonder, did Thorsen embellish? Was the log altered later, or did something happen that only the Northern Star witnessed? Something that left no trace for anyone else? And what about the ship itself? The Draugr ship, a figure from Scandinavian folklore, the restless dead haunting the seas in a ghostly vessel. Was Thorsen, a man steeped in Norse tradition, projecting his deepest fears onto the storm? The legend was potent in 1740, but folklore doesn't sink ships. Or does it? Forget ghosts for a moment. The North Atlantic in November is a master of illusion. Let's consult the science. First, the weather. We accessed historical climate data reconstructed from ice cores and ship logs. November 1740 was exceptionally cold, even for the Little Ice Age. A massive high-pressure system sat over Scandinavia, clashing with a low-pressure storm system rolling in from the Atlantic, exactly the conditions needed for a phenomenon known as a Fata Morgana. A Fata Morgana isn't just haze, it's a complex superior mirage. When a layer of warm air sits above a layer of much colder air near the sea surface, a temperature inversion, light rays bend abnormally. Ships, islands, even coastlines hundreds of kilometers away can be distorted, magnified, and projected above the horizon. A distant mundane vessel, perhaps a fishing boat, a whaler, even an iceberg, could be stretched, inverted, and rendered utterly alien. Imagine, the real ship is far away, low on the horizon. The inversion bends its image upwards. It appears towering, impossibly large. Its masts might seem to bend or multiply. Its sails, seen through the distorted light, could look tattered or spectral. Crucially, it appears to move independently of the waves, seeming to glide through them because the mirage is projected onto the atmospheric layer, not the actual sea surface. It could vanish instantly if the inversion layer shifts, which Thorsen described. But what about the silence? The utter stillness? A Fata Morgana is purely visual. Sound travels differently. The real ship might have been too far for sound to carry over the storm, or the inversion could have muffled it. To the terrified crew, the silent looming image felt like a ghost ship. Another possibility, St. Elmo's fire. In intense electrical storms, common in November gales, a plasma discharge can cause eerie, glowing lights on masts and rigging, while usually blue or violet could extreme conditions create a more unsettling effect? Could it, combined with stress and low visibility, contribute to a perception of an unnatural vessel? Possibly, but it doesn't explain the solid ship shape Thorsen described. And then there's the human mind under extreme stress. Sleep deprivation, hypothermia, the constant roar of the storm, the primal fear of the deep, these can trigger vivid hallucinations or pareidolia, seeing patterns in chaos. A cluster of floating debris, an unusual wave formation, even the northern star's own shadow on a fog bank, could be misinterpreted by exhausted, terrified sailors as a phantom ship. The power of suggestion, especially with folklore like the Draugr ship in their minds, is immense. Now, let's dive deeper, literally. The Lofoten Islands sit on a geological wonderland. This region is rich in magnetite, iron ore with strong natural magnetism. We consulted modern geomagnetic surveys of the area. There are significant localized magnetic anomalies, particularly around certain islands and underwater ridges. In 1740, navigation relied solely on the magnetic compass. These anomalies could cause a compass needle to swing wildly, point in the wrong direction, or even become temporarily stuck. Imagine Captain Thorsen, already battling a storm, checks his compass and it's spinning like a top. Or worse, it points steadily, but completely wrong. He thinks he's heading east, but he's actually sailing north, straight towards a known treacherous reef or another vessel. Could a magnetic anomaly have caused the Northern Star to veer dangerously off course, potentially putting them on a collision path with a real ship that was simply where Thorsen thought he shouldn't be? The Phantom ship might have been a very real vessel, suddenly appearing out of the fog because Thorsen's compass had lied to him, leading them into unexpected proximity. The terror of a near miss in a storm could easily morph into the legend of a ghostly encounter in the retelling. There's even a more subtle effect. Strong local magnetic fields can subtly distort the Earth's field, potentially influencing atmospheric electrical conditions. Could this have played a role in enhancing a mirage or contributing to unusual visual phenomena? It's speculative, but the unique geology of the Lofoten region adds another layer of plausible natural explanation to the mix. Science offers compelling alternatives: a trick of light and cold air, a failing compass in a magnetic sea, or the fractured perception of men pushed to their limits. But does science kill the mystery, or does it make it even more fascinating? So, was the Lofoten Phantom real? Based on the evidence, or rather the lack of corroborating evidence, it's highly unlikely a literal ghost ship appeared in 1740. The most probable explanations are natural: a dramatic Fata Morgana mirage, compounded by the crew's extreme stress, the pervasive folklore, and possibly a misleading compass. But here's the shocking insight. The real ghost ship isn't the one Thorsen saw, it's the story itself. This legend, like so many maritime mysteries, is a phantom vessel sailing through time. It appears in books, documentaries, and online forums, often stripped of context, growing more spectral with each retelling. It haunts us because it taps into something primal: our awe of the ocean's power, our fear of the unknown, and our deep-seated need for stories that explain the inexplicable. Think about it. The Mary Celeste, 1872, found adrift, empty. The Flying Dutchman, cursed to sail forever. The Carol A. Deering, abandoned off Cape Hatteras in 1921. These aren't just stories, they're cultural artifacts. They persist because the sea is mysterious. It does swallow ships without a trace. It does create impossible sights. The absence of an explanation is fertile ground for legend. The Lofoten Phantom of 1740 endures not because it's true in the literal sense, but because it's true to the sailor's experience. It captures the very real terror of the deep, the vulnerability of a tiny ship against an immense, indifferent ocean. Captain Thorsen might have seen a mirage, but the dread he felt, that was utterly horrifyingly real, and that's the emotion the legend preserves. So, what is the secret of the ghost ship of 1740? It's not a secret from the past, locked in a phantom hull. The secret is that the sea doesn't need ghosts to be terrifyingly magnificent. It has ice, fog, magnetic rocks, and light that bends reality. It has storms that break men's minds and waves that erase all trace. The greatest mystery isn't what was seen that night, but why, centuries later, we still strain our eyes towards the fog, hoping or fearing to see something impossible. Captain Thorsen sailed into safe harbor. His ship was real. His fear was real. The storm was real. The rest? A story born from the collision of the natural world's extremes and the human need to make sense of the senseless. The ghost ship of 1740 isn't haunting the North Atlantic, it's haunting us. A reminder that even in our age of satellites and sonar, the ocean keeps its deepest secrets close. And sometimes the most powerful vessel is the one built from fear and fog, sailing forever in the human imagination. The sea doesn't forget, but perhaps it only remembers in riddles. And the riddle of the Lofoten Phantom, it's not meant to be solved, it's meant to be felt. As long as the waves crash against the Lofoten shore, the Phantom will sail on, not in the water, but in the watchful eyes of those who dare to look out to sea.